Welcome, sleepy soul. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I never thought a simple solo trip would twist itself into one of the strangest and most disturbing memories of my life. Even now, whenever I try to talk about it, my voice tightens, like my body is warning me not to bring that night back into the room. But I know if I don't tell it properly, if I don't lay out every emotion and every moment as I remember it, it'll keep haunting me in little flashes for the rest of my life. So, here it goes. I had gone to Pine Ridge, Colorado, for a 3-day workshop connected to my job. I work as a youth counselor, lots of traveling for conferences, lectures, training sessions. Honestly, I love driving more than flying. Being alone on the road gives me space from everyone and everything. Plus, flights were expensive and my car felt like my own safe little bubble. The workshop had gone fine, but I wasn't in the best frame of mind at the time. I had recently gotten out of a 2-year relationship that ended so abruptly it still stung when I remembered it. My ex never hit me or anything like that. But the emotional distance, the way he could stare right through me, made me feel like a ghost in my own home. By the time we broke up, I felt relieved, but empty. So I stayed an extra night after the conference just to clear my head. I explored some trails, ate alone at a diner, watched people laugh with their friends and families. It felt like everyone had someone except me. When I finally packed my car on Sunday morning, I actually felt good. Lighter, like the drive home would be refreshing, a reset. But the universe had something else lined up. I drove all day through long stretches of empty land, flat, open highway with tiny towns popping up every couple hundred miles. By the time the sun dipped down, I was somewhere along Highway 287 in northern New Mexico heading toward Texas. It was getting late, around 9 p.m., but I wasn't sleepy, just stiff and hungry. When I saw a sign for Mesa Creek Rest Area, I figured I'd stop, stretch my legs, and keep going. It looked small but decently lit. A couple of semis were parked and a few SUVs. Nothing weird. But the air felt different the moment I pulled in. Thicker somehow. Maybe because it was a hot night. Maybe because of the loneliness of the highway. Maybe because of what was about to happen. I parked near the building, got out, and headed inside to use the restroom. The air smelled like pine trees and diesel fumes. Pretty normal for a rest stop. When I walked out again, everything still felt normal, until I noticed him. He was standing off in the grassy area near one of the big oak trees. Not close to the building, not close to any cars, just there. His posture was weird, like he didn't know where to put his hands. He wasn't using a phone, wasn't smoking, wasn't stretching his legs. Just a thin guy in dark jeans and a faded hoodie, staring straight ahead into the rest stop lights. And then I realized he was staring at me. At first I thought maybe I was imagining it, so I looked over my shoulder to see if he was actually staring at someone behind me. But no, I was the only one walking. Okay, I whispered to myself, trying not to let my nerves spread across my face. Just get to the car. You know that feeling when your instincts start buzzing before your brain even catches up? That's what it felt like. My stomach tightened, and my heart picked up a little pace. I walked to my car without looking back at him. But when I opened my door and sat in the driver's seat, I couldn't stop myself. I glanced up. He was still staring, not waving, not blinking. Just standing there in the dim, patchy light with this strange, stiff expression. Like he was studying me but didn't want me to know. Dude, what the hell? I whispered. He wasn't like a movie villain. He wasn't covered in tattoos, wasn't holding anything, wasn't grinning or making threatening moves, but something about the way he watched me felt wrong. I turned on the engine, locked the doors, and pulled out. As I left the rest area, I checked my rearview mirror. He hadn't moved an inch. I drove another hour and a half before finally stopping in Claremont, Texas at a little roadside hotel. Not a chain, but it looked clean enough. By that point, I was exhausted. I showered, ate snacks from my bag, scrolled aimlessly on my phone, and finally fell asleep around midnight. Nothing weird happened. Nothing creepy. Just regular highway hotel boredom. The next morning, I grabbed a coffee, checked out, and continued my drive home. The whole next day was long, empty highway. Podcasts, music, fast food stops. Nothing memorable. By the time I pulled into my neighborhood around 7 p.m., I felt like the trip had been normal. The man at the rest stop slipped into the back of my mind. I told myself, "You're alone, you're tired," and he was just a random dude standing weird chill. But that night proved I was wrong. Very wrong. I was in my kitchen unpacking when I heard something outside. Not a knock, more like movement. Like shoes brushing against concrete or someone shifting their weight on my front step. It wasn't loud, just there. I walked toward the window by the door, not thinking much of it. Maybe a package, maybe raccoons. But when I looked out, my lungs froze. My fingers curled against the windowsill. My entire body went cold, because standing on my front step, only a few feet from my door, was the same man from the rest stop, same hoodie, same silhouette, same way of standing. But this time he wasn't staring blankly. This time his head was tilted slightly like he was listening to something inside the house. He wasn't knocking. He wasn't pacing. He was just waiting. I didn't make a sound. I just turned on the porch light. The moment the light hit him, he ran. No hesitation. No confusion. Just sprinted away like an animal into the night. Disappearing across the street and down the shadowy sidewalk, I staggered back from the window and almost dropped my phone as I tried to call someone. Anyone. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly hit the wrong contact. I finally called my best friend, Lily. The moment she answered, my voice cracked. "Lil, someone was just at my door." "What? Who? What happened?" "It was..." I stopped and pressed a hand against my forehead. "It was the guy from the rest stop. I swear to God it was him." Her tone changed instantly. "Wait, what? How would he even..." "No, that doesn't make sense." "I know it doesn't," I said. "That's what scares me. Call the cops." I did. They came, did a quick sweep, asked a bunch of routine questions. I told them everything. I even described the rest stop and the exact tree he had been standing under. The officers were polite but skeptical. One of them said, "Ma'am, could it maybe have been someone else? Someone local, maybe? Happens sometimes. People misidentify folks from a distance." "I know what I saw," I insisted. He nodded politely but didn't look convinced. They patrolled around the block for a little while and then left, leaving me staring at my own front yard like it was an enemy waiting for the next move. I barely slept. Every noise made me jump. Every car passing made my heart race. I kept checking my locks, checking the backyard, checking the windows. But the man never came back. And part of me started wondering if maybe, just maybe, the cops were right. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe someone else who looked similar knocked on the wrong house, but deep down I knew better. Because the look he had on his face at the rest stop wasn't a look you forget. It was eerie, focused, intent in a way that didn't feel accidental. It was the kind of stare that stays in your bones. The theory, I told several people about it. Every single one had a theory. "Maybe he followed you," one said. "How would he know where she lived?" Another argued, "Maybe he lived near her." That's a crazy coincidence. Maybe she's mixing up two different guys. It happens. But I know what I saw, and the part that keeps me awake sometimes, even now, is the timing. He didn't follow me into the hotel. I checked security footage with the manager later. Nothing. No car like his. No hoodie. No man matching his build. So how the hell was he suddenly at my house hundreds of miles away? How did he find me? I don't have the answer. I still replay the question too many nights. The weirdest part? 2 months later, while driving to the grocery store, I saw a missing person poster on a telephone pole. A young man from 2 towns over, last seen wearing a dark hoodie and jeans, described as quiet, thin, socially withdrawn. The photo wasn't clear, and something about the face looked familiar, but it was hard to tell. I stared at it for a long time in my parked car. Was it him? Or was I forcing connections because I was scared? I'll never know. I still lock my doors earlier than I used to. I still avoid rest stops at night. And sometimes, late at night, when the house settles or a tree brushes my window, I jolt awake thinking he's back, but he never returned. Not once. And that somehow scares me more, because it means he didn't want anything simple. He wanted something specific. Maybe he mistook me for someone else. Maybe he was just deeply unstable. Maybe he really did live near me. Maybe it really was all coincidence stacked on coincidence. Or maybe he found me because he wanted to. And when the porch light exposed him, he realized he'd made a mistake. A mistake that sent him running. But every now and then, when I'm driving on long, empty highways and the night gets too quiet, I still check my rearview mirror. Because sometimes the road shows you someone once, and they show up again where you least expect them, and sometimes once is all it takes. I always thought that road trips with my best friend were the safest place in the world. I always thought that road trips with my best friend were the safest place in the world. Our own little escape from whatever stress life kept throwing at us. Back then, I was 24, working double shifts at a diner in northern Indiana, exhausted and honestly, kind of drifting. My best friend, Riley, was the one who convinced me to take this trip. She said we deserved a reset, which was her soft way of saying I needed to stop drowning in my own overthinking. We had been friends since freshman year of high school, 2 awkward girls wearing thrift store jackets trying to act like we knew anything about the world. She grew into the loud, bold type, and I somehow stayed the quiet observer. But we balanced each other out. She pulled me out of my shell. I pulled her out of trouble, or at least tried to. The plan was simple: drive from Indiana to Colorado Springs for a 3-day girls' trip. No responsibilities, no schedules, just a beat-up blue Toyota and cheap gas station snacks. We packed light: hoodies, leggings, a disposable camera she insisted on bringing, and a playlist labeled Bad Decisions Vibes. Everything felt normal safe, like the world was on pause. But I swear, sometimes the worst things don't announce themselves. They sneak in quietly, disguised as a normal night on the highway. And that night, the one I still can't think about without my stomach churning, started just as casually. We were somewhere in eastern Kansas when the sun finally dipped and the sky turned that hazy purple. Riley was asleep. Her hoodie was pulled up over her face, mouth slightly open as she snored like an old dog. I kept laughing quietly every time she made that tiny whistle sound with her nose. "Girl, you good?" I whispered, nudging her. She didn't even stir. I rolled my eyes and kept driving. The highway stretched endlessly in front of us, empty except for the occasional truck rolling past. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. The kind of quiet that makes you start thinking about things you'd been trying to ignore. I remember looking at the time, 11:42 p.m. We were about 5 hours from reaching Colorado. I told myself I could keep going, but my eyelids felt like they were made of concrete. I needed a break. Even a 15-minute nap would help. I spotted a sign: Pilot Travel Center, exit 217, food, showers, parking, perfect. "Riley," I said, shaking her thigh, "I'm gonna pull over and crash for a bit." She stretched like a cat. "Where are we?" "Kansas, middle of nowhere part." "Did we pass anything cool?" "No, unless you're into cows and dead grass." "Gross." She rubbed her eyes. "Okay, yeah, let's stop." I didn't know it yet, but deciding to stop there was the first mistake. The Pilot wasn't anything special. Just a big, bright building with truck pumps on one side and a quieter car parking area on the other. The lot had 3 main rows for overnight parking, and the last row angled close to a tall chain-link fence with a no-access sign. About 10 vans and trucks were already parked, most with curtains drawn or blankets taped across windows. People resting. People like us. I pulled into a spot close to the building, under the brightest light, because that always felt safest. "You want anything?" I asked. "A Coke," she mumbled, "and maybe hot Cheetos." "You're insane," I muttered. "It's midnight." "And?" She smirked. She stayed in the car while I went inside. I grabbed drinks, snacks, and 2 bottled waters. When I came back out, she was already reclined in her seat, scrolling through TikTok. "I'm gonna nap 20 minutes, I told her. "Bet? I'll keep watch," she said, immediately betraying that promise by yawning hard enough her jaw cracked. I reclined my seat, pulled my hoodie up to my chin, and let the hum of the parking lot lull me to sleep. I don't know how long I was out before it happened. Maybe an hour, maybe less. But something snapped me awake. Footsteps, right outside my door. Heavy ones. Coming from behind the passenger side and stopping directly next to me, my eyes flew open. And that's when I saw him. A man, mid-30s maybe, scruffy beard, dirty baseball cap, oversized jacket, was walking away from our car. He must have noticed movement because he suddenly turned his head, saw me staring, gave a casual little wave, and then walked right back toward my window. Riley sat up instantly. "What the hell?" she whispered. He reached my window and leaned down slightly. "Hey there," he said, voice too cheerful for midnight. "Sorry to wake you. My car won't start. I was hoping you could give me a jump." His accent was Midwest, but rougher. Like he'd been smoking his whole life. I should have said no. But half asleep and thrown off, I mumbled, sure, I guess." Riley shot me a look like, "Are you stupid?" "Great," he said, stepping back. "Just follow me around." He started walking toward the far row, the row by the fence, the darkest one. I put the car in drive and Riley slapped my arm. "Dude, no, hell no. Why would you say yes?" I panicked. I wasn't thinking. "Well, think now. This is weird as hell." "I know, I'll just see what the situation is. We'll keep the doors locked." "Girl, we are not mechanics at midnight in Kansas," she muttered. "This dude could be a straight-up serial killer." I swallowed hard. She wasn't wrong. He kept walking toward the back, toward a beat-up RV parked crookedly next to an old pickup truck filled with piles of random junk. Something inside me screamed to stop, so I did. Halfway down the row, I stopped the car. The man noticed and started waving frantically. "Come on forward, right here, just pull up," Riley whispered. "Nope, absolutely not. He's trying to box us in." The positioning was tight. Just enough space for one car to squeeze awkwardly between the RV and truck. "No way," I muttered. But for some stupid instinct over logic reason, I edged a little closer, still keeping distance. The man waved jumper cables, motioning aggressively. Then, the RV door swung open. A woman stepped out fast, like she'd been waiting. Her hair was messy, long and stringy. Her eyes were wide, frantic. She started signaling at me, too. "Pull up," she yelled. "Just pull up." "Back up," Riley whispered. "Right now." The woman kept yelling, Don't be scared, honey, just come on up." I could see movement in the RV, shadows shifting. My hands shook. Something was wrong. Really wrong. I shouted through the closed window, "The cables have to reach from here, I'm not pulling in there." Her expression snapped from friendly to furious. "Pull up," she screamed, voice cracking. That's when the man ran to her yelling, "Jesus, shut up, go inside, go!" They argued, voices muffled but angry. I had the sudden, sickening realization. They expected the car to be trapped between the RV and the truck. He approached my window again, calmer now. "Just pull up closer," he said softly. Too softly. 5 more feet and I can hook it up. We'll be done in 2 minutes. Riley was shaking her head violently. Go, go, go. I'm sorry, I said, glaring at him. I can't help with this. His face twitched in frustration. Seriously? He snapped. My mother's sick, I need to get home. That's not my problem, I said, voice cracking. Then I shifted into reverse. He took a step toward the car. The woman burst back out of the RV, yelling at him, pointing at us like blame was bouncing between them. I didn't wait. I floored it backward, avoiding the trash-filled bed of the truck by inches. We pulled out of the lot so fast the tires screeched I didn't stop driving for 10 minutes. My hands were trembling so badly I thought I might crash. What the hell was that? Riley kept saying. What the actual hell was that? I don't know, I whispered. But I did know, and so did she. They weren't stranded. They weren't trying to jump a dead battery. They were waiting for the right car, waiting for the right girl, waiting for someone half asleep, someone too trusting, someone who wouldn't question things until it was too late. We drove another hour before finding a brightly lit love station closer to the city. We parked under a camera between two RVs with families inside. We didn't talk. We barely breathed. I don't think either of us truly slept the rest of the night. And even now, months later, I still replay it. What if I hadn't woken up? What if I had pulled into that tight gap? What if we had stepped out of the car? Would we still be here? Those questions haunt me more than anything else. I'll never know what those people were actually planning. But I know for damn sure it wasn't a jump start. And I know one more thing. Whenever people tell me road trips are safe, that the Midwest is friendly, or that strangers on the road are just good folks trying to get home, I feel that cold shiver down my spine. Because now I know. Some people don't wave for help. They wave you into a trap. I always thought long road trips would fix the things I never talked about. The loneliness, the burnout, the feeling that my life in Bloom Ridge, Missouri was shrinking around me like a small, suffocating box. After losing my job at the travel magazine last winter, things had gone downhill fast. My friends started getting promotions, engagements, kids, and I stayed stuck, 26, living in a cramped apartment above a laundromat with a car that rattled every time I crossed 50 miles per hour. So when I finally saved enough to take a solo trip down to Sundown Valley, Texas, to visit my childhood best friend, I treated it like some sort of personal reset. My mom had cried when I packed the trunk. "Leah, baby, just call me every few hours. You know how these highways get after dark." I'd only laughed. "Mom, I'll be fine. People do solo trips all the time." But deep down, there was a knot inside me, a weird feeling that I couldn't explain, a sort of pressure behind the ribs, like something was waiting to happen. I brushed it off. Anxiety loved playing tricks on me lately. And then, the trip began. The highway stretched out like a black ribbon as I crossed southern Missouri. The air smelled like pine, rain, and the cheap vanilla latte I'd spilled on the passenger seat. My playlist ran through old songs from high school, songs that carried memories that weren't as sweet now. After 8 hours of driving, the sky turned bruised purple, then pitch-black traffic thinned until I felt like the only person left on the planet. Somewhere past the Arkansas border, my GPS started glitching, rerouting. Signal lost. Great, I muttered. Just freaking great. The road became emptier, quieter. No gas stations, no restaurants. Not even those cheesy billboards with cowboys holding giant burgers, just endless dark woods on both sides and the faint hum of my engine. By 12:21 a.m., exhaustion made my eyelids heavy. I hadn't eaten since the afternoon, my throat was dry. And the bladder? Absolutely done with me. That's when I saw it. A blue metal sign reflecting my headlights. Rest area. 1 mile, 24 hours, no security on site. Well, that's comforting, I mumbled. But after 2 hours of seeing nothing, I didn't have many options left. The rest area sat tucked behind a line of thick pine trees like it was hiding. The parking lot was long, cracked, and poorly lit. A single flickering lamp buzzed above the restroom building. No cars, no trucks, no overnight travelers, just me. "Leah, you got this," I whispered to myself, gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. In and out, 2 minutes. I parked right in front of the building and grabbed the small can of pepper spray my mom had forced me to keep inside. The rest area smelled like cold tile, old mop water, and something metallic under the surface. Blood? Rust? I couldn't tell. The vending machines hummed loudly like they were struggling. The women's restroom door creaked when I pushed it open. "Hello?" I called, out of pure habit. No reply. I went in, relieved myself quickly, washed my hands, splashed cold water on my tired face, and took a deep breath. Then, thump. A sudden heavy footstep outside. I froze. Another one. Closer. Slow. Measured. The kind of footsteps that weren't casual. They were deliberate. My breath hitched. I leaned toward the bathroom entrance, listening hard. Someone stopped right outside the women's restroom. I could feel it, a presence. Heavy. Still. "Hello?" I said again, but softer this time. No answer. Instead, bang! I jumped, my heart slamming against my ribs. Someone hit the bathroom door hard. Once. Then again. Then again, faster, louder. The door wasn't locked. It couldn't lock. All they had to do was push it open, but they didn't. They just kept banging. "Hey!" I shouted, forcing my voice to sound strong. "Back off, dude!" No voice replied. No laugh, no words. Just loud, violent pounding. Then suddenly, silence. Dead silence. My pulse hammered in my ears. Slow footsteps began retreating. Then the door to the lobby creaked open, closed. And the entire building went quiet again. I waited. 1 minute. 2. 3. Finally, I forced myself to walk out, pepper spray up, hands trembling. Nobody. The vending machine hummed. A moth flickered against the buzzing light. The air felt colder than before. I hurried out to my car. Still no other vehicles, still no sound of someone driving away. "Where the hell did he go?" I whispered. I started the engine. The narrow exit road lay ahead, just one lane cutting between dark woods on both sides. As I rolled forward, headlights slicing through the trees. A man stepped out of the woods. My foot slammed the brake so hard the seatbelt punched my chest. He stood about 40, maybe older, with long graying hair, a scruffy beard, a thick brown field jacket, and boots that looked like he'd walked miles in them. His face had deep lines, like cliffs carved by anger. His eyes didn't blink. It hit me instantly. He was the one who had been banging on the door. "God, no," I whispered. He didn't move, didn't wave, didn't signal, just stared. I tried inching forward. He stepped closer. I reversed. He walked faster. "What do you want?" I screamed through the glass. He didn't answer, just kept coming. I slammed the gear into reverse and floored it. Gravel scattered behind me as I shot backward into the parking lot. He started running. Full sprint. Boots pounding the asphalt. Hands reaching out like claws. "Come on, come on, come on," I cried, spinning the wheel. I shot toward the entrance. It was a one-way road. Cars were supposed to enter from the highway, not exit. I didn't care. I took it anyway. If someone came in at that exact second, I'd be dead. But luck held. I burst out of the entrance, made a near illegal right turn, and flew onto the highway. My car rattled with speed. Trees blurred by. My hands shook uncontrollably. As I passed the normal exit where the rest area rejoined the highway, my headlights caught him again, standing on the shoulder facing me, watching me leave, like he already knew I'd come this way. My throat closed. Tears blurred my eyes. I drove 15 miles before calling 911. "Ma'am, calm down," the operator kept repeating. "We'll send an officer to check it out." But I never heard anything afterward, and that should have been the end of it, should have been. But 3 nights later, after reaching Sundown Valley, after finally relaxing, after telling myself it was just some random drifter. I heard something outside my friend's apartment. Heavy footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Then a soft knock on the front door. 3 taps. Just like the banging in the rest stop. I froze in the hallway. "Leah?" my friend called from the living room. "You expecting anybody?" "No," I whispered, my heart sinking. I stepped toward the peephole with shaking hands. Looked out, my vision tunneled. Standing under the porch light was the same man. Same hair, same jacket, same boots. Face half-shadowed. He lifted his head and smiled a slow smile that never reached his eyes, like he'd been waiting. Tracking. Following. My breath shattered. I stumbled backwards. My friend, confused, walked past me and peeked out the window. "What the hell? Do you know that guy?" I didn't answer. I couldn't, because as soon as she looked, he stepped backward into the darkness and vanished. We called the police. Again. They found nothing. No footprints, no sign of him on cameras. Nothing. But that night, I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Because somewhere deep inside, I knew. He hadn't followed me for my wallet. He hadn't followed me for my car. He'd followed me because I had been alone, vulnerable, easy to corner in that silent rest area. And maybe because once he'd seen my face, he didn't want to forget it. I moved back home 3 weeks later. I quit traveling. I started sleeping with the lights on. And every once in a while, when I drive late at night and pass a quiet wooded area, I swear I can see a silhouette near the tree line. Just standing, watching, waiting for me to stop again. I don't think he's done. Not yet. I never planned on telling anyone what happened on that trip, mostly because every time I think about it, my hands still shake. But some memories don't fade, no matter how badly you want them to. Mine started last summer, when school finally let out and I convinced my girlfriend, Riley Hart, to take a small road trip with me from Kansas City, Missouri, down to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Riley and I had been together for 3 years. She was loud, funny, chaotic, sarcastic, impulsive, and somehow still the calmest human being I knew when things went wrong. I always joked she could keep her cool even if the roof blew off our house. I, on the other hand, was the anxious planner type Google Maps queen, obsessed with emergency kits, and forever double-checking every gas station bathroom as if a murderer lived in the last stall. Ava, she'd always laugh. "You gotta chill. We're just driving. It's the Midwest, not a horror movie." But she didn't say that this time, because she was the one who ended up the most terrified. We left on a Friday morning around 9 a.m. Riley grabbed the aux cable and said, "You drive first. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet." "Mine never kicks in," I muttered, adjusting my seat. She laughed. "Yeah, well, that's why I'm the fun one." We hit I-35, drove through normal morning traffic, stopped at a little diner near Wichita where an elderly couple served blueberry pie. We laughed, took pictures, played music, and complained about our students like any burnt-out teachers would. Nothing strange, nothing off, just 2 girlfriends enjoying the start of summer. By sunset, we were passing through Amarillo, planning to reach Albuquerque later that night. If I had known what was coming, I might have turned the car around right then. 8:27 p.m. We pulled into a big truck stop called Rock Ridge Travel Plaza. It looked like every other busy American roadside hub: bright lights, rows of semi-trucks, a big convenience store with showers, snacks, and cold sodas. Riley said, "I'm gonna hit the restroom and grab snacks. You get the gas?" "Got you." I stepped out, fueled up, and noticed something a little strange. In the far corner, an old beige pickup truck sat idling, headlights off, engine running, windows tinted dark. I couldn't see the driver at all. I didn't think much of it. Truckers nap in their vehicles all the time. After fueling, I used the restroom, then headed back to the car. Riley took a few extra minutes but came out carrying a giant bag of snacks: corn nuts, peach rings, beef jerky, iced tea. "Hoarder," I teased. "Road trip tax," she grinned. We left the truck stop like it was nothing. But nothing about that place was nothing. Around 9 p.m., Once we were back on the highway, traffic was still decent. I drove while Riley scrolled on her phone, but an hour later, the road thinned out. Darkness settled in. That's when I noticed it, in my mirror. The same beige pickup truck from the stop. Riley glanced at it too. "Is that the one from earlier?" "Probably a coincidence," I said, but I recognized the dented bumper, the foggy left headlight. It didn't pass us. It didn't drift away. It just stayed behind us. Riley shifted uncomfortably. "Dude, he's not passing. Everyone else is passing." "I know," I admitted, but I tried not to panic. Another hour passed. The pickup stayed. 9:58 p.m. Both our phones read no service. Riley groaned. "Seriously? We're still in 2024, right?" Our maps froze. "No directions." "Don't freak out," I told her. "The highway is basically straight." But I was nervous. A few minutes later, I saw an exit for Route 287. It looked like the connection toward the highway we needed. So I took it. The pickup took it too. Riley sat up straight. "Ava, that's not coincidence anymore." After the exit, we saw construction signs. "Road work ahead." "Detour." Bright arrows pointed us toward a smaller road, then an even smaller, one-lane road, then a narrow country road, then a dirt road. My stomach twisted. "This can't be right," Riley whispered. "Why are we the only ones on this detour?" The pickup remained behind us. Same distance, same slow follow. Not too close, not too far. Like he was herding us, guiding us, or cornering us. Up ahead, a giant sign read, "Road closed. No through traffic." I stopped. The pickup stopped. Riley grabbed my arm. "Turn around. Now." I began a U-turn. The pickup moved too, but instead of turning around, it swung sideways and blocked the entire narrow road. Headlights off, engine humming quietly, a dark silhouette behind the wheel. Riley's voice cracked. "Ava, go forward. Go forward now." My chest felt like it was shrinking. I turned the wheel back, drove toward the barrier, and cut slightly off-road to bypass the "road closed" sign. The instant I got around it, the pickup jerked forward. Fast, like it suddenly realized we were escaping. I floored the gas. The dirt road was pitch black, no houses, no streetlights, nothing but desert scrub and our headlights slicing through the night. Riley looked back. "He's speeding up. Ava, go, go, go." "I am." The engine roared. Gravel sprayed behind us. My heart hammered so loudly I couldn't hear myself think. Up ahead, a T intersection. Left or right? No time. I swerved left. The pickup overshot the turn by a second, giving us a few feet of distance. At the next fork, I did something reckless. I turned the headlights off. Riley screamed, "Are you freaking insane? Just trust me." We crawled in the dark, guiding ourselves by the faintest moonlight. The car rattled violently over the bumpy ground. The pickup roared past the intersection. He didn't see us in the dark. He kept going, straight into nowhere. "We lost him," Riley whispered, trembling, but I refused to stop. For the next 30-40 minutes, we navigated random gravel tracks and forgotten farm roads. No lights, no cell service, just fear and judgment calls. Finally, like a miracle, the main highway reappeared. We merged on. Signal returned to both phones at the same moment. Riley exhaled so hard she nearly sobbed. "Ava, what the hell just happened?" "I don't know," I whispered, but I did. And deep inside, so did she. Next morning at the Albuquerque motel, we went down for breakfast. Riley was scrolling through her phone lazily when suddenly her spoon dropped. "Ava, look." It was a local news alert. 2 women missing near back roads off Route 287. Police warned drivers not to follow unauthorized detour signs. Witnesses reported an older beige pickup truck near the area. Unauthorized, meaning the signs weren't real. Someone placed them. Someone who used that path. Someone who hunted in that area. Someone who followed women off the main road. My hands went cold. Riley whispered, "Ava, that truck. It was the same model. I couldn't speak. We could have been them. We could have disappeared off that dirt road and no one would have ever known where to look. 3 days later, driving back toward Kansas City, Riley sat quietly for most of the ride. "Ava," she finally said. "Yeah? There's something I didn't tell you." "What?" She swallowed hard. "When I was inside the truck stop, a guy approached me. He told me, 'Pretty girls shouldn't be out here alone.'" His voice was off. Like, creepy off. My skin prickled. "Why didn't you tell me then?" "I didn't want to freak you out. I just walked away." "But Ava, I think he followed me outside. I think he saw our car. I think he waited." Everything clicked. The detour signs, the tailing, the blocked road, the chase. It wasn't random. It wasn't coincidence. We were targeted. Riley still refuses to drive at night. I still check my rearview mirror every few minutes, even in daylight. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear the rumble of that pickup truck engine behind us again. Sometimes I dream about the dark silhouette sitting behind the tinted glass. And sometimes, I check the news, but they never caught anyone. No suspects, no leads, just that blurred description. Older beige pickup, male driver, unknown motive, and the quiet fear that somewhere out there, on some lonely highway, another pair of women might be stopping at a truck stop just like we did, and he might be sitting in the corner again, engine running, waiting. I never thought a simple overnight drive would be the one thing that still keeps me up at night. I'm Jolene Whitmore, 24 years old, and up until last year, I thought I understood fear. You know, the normal kind. Anxiety before exams, nerves before interviews, the shaky feeling you get when you hear something outside your window late at night. But none of that compares to what happened on that stretch of nowhere road between northern Ohio and Kentucky. I had just graduated cosmetology school a few months earlier and was finally starting to feel like my life was lining back up after the chaos of the previous year. Losing my dad, dropping out of college for a while, getting stuck in a tiny apartment I could barely afford. I had been rebuilding myself piece by piece, and one of the small joys that kept me sane during that time was music. So when my childhood friend, Rhea Coleman, called me and said, "Girl, I got us floor tickets for the Columbus show," I didn't even think. I just said yes. Rhea and I weren't exactly the stereotypical best friends. We fought a lot, took space a lot, and then somehow always found our way back to each other. But she was the one person who didn't abandon me when my dad passed. She brought food, cleaned my place, forced me to go outside when I refused to leave my room. So when she said she wanted a road trip night with me, I owed her that. We left Lexington around 1 p.m., blasting music, talking trash about our old high school, laughing about all the dumb things we used to do when we were 17. The concert was incredible. Loud, sweaty, emotional, everything we needed. And by the time we got back to the car around midnight, we were exhausted mentally, physically. Everything. My car, a silver 2009 Nissan Sentra with more personality issues than any vehicle should legally be allowed to have, was packed with snacks, hoodies, chargers, and my emergency blanket I kept in the trunk. We planned to drive home overnight since Rhea had work the next morning. "Let's just hit the interstate and keep rolling," she said, rubbing her eyes. I nodded, tossing my bag into the back seat. "Bathroom first. My bladder is not built for road trips." "Facts," she muttered. There was a bright, almost too bright gas station about 20 minutes from the venue, Hawk's Quick Mart, some independent place. We pulled into the lot, the fluorescent lights humming loud enough to make the whole place feel weirdly alive. It wasn't scary, just odd. Off-brand soda signs, dusty snack racks, an old cashier who barely looked up. We used the restroom, grabbed chips, and sat back in the car with the engine running. That's when everything changed. I opened Google Maps, expecting it to lead me back the same way we came straight onto I-71 South. But instead, it flashed a new route. Faster route available, saving 18 minutes. It was highlighted in blue, pushing us away from the interstate, and onto Highway 47, then into what looked like a tiny rural connector road. Rhea leaned over my shoulder. What the hell is Highway 47? That wasn't there before. Probably construction or something, I said, though my stomach didn't fully buy it. She shrugged. Whatever gets us home faster. I'm dying. Same. I put the car in drive and headed out of the lot. The moment we left the glow of the gas station lights, darkness swallowed everything. I don't mean the kind of darkness you get on normal country roads, I mean a void. The kind that makes you feel like the world drops off 10 feet ahead of your headlights. Damn, this is empty, Rhea whispered. Ohio is basically corn, I said. What did you expect? No, Joe, this is like nothing. No barns, no fences, no street lamps, not even trees. She was right. The world around us was just huge, flat fields, and the occasional patch of tall grass. It looked abandoned, unfinished, like someone forgot to place houses and farms where they should have been. But I was tired, and the GPS said we were fine. Just go with it, I muttered. 4 miles until the next turn. Those 4 miles felt like 20. Finally, the voice announced, "Turn right." I slowed down in confusion. "Where?" I whispered. "There," Rhea pointed. The turn was onto a narrow road, no painted lines, no lights. Potholes everywhere. 3 houses sat along it, each one looking like it had been left to rot a decade ago. No porch lights. No signs of life. Just darkness. Something cold slid down my spine. "Joe, this look right to you?" "Honestly, no. You want to turn back?" I stared at the map again. "It says this connects back to the interstate." She sighed. "Let's just hurry then." I nodded and kept driving. The road stretched forward into deeper darkness. No moon. No stars. The only light came from my headlights cutting through the black. My GPS suddenly announced, "Railroad crossing ahead." I scanned the road ahead. There was nothing. Rhea's foot tapped anxiously. "Be careful. Some of these old crossings don't have lights." "Yeah, Something appeared. We didn't see the train until we were already almost on top of it. A massive freight train sat dead on the tracks, blocking the entire road. No warning lights. No bell. Just silence. Shit. I slammed the brakes, jerking us forward. The train looked wrong. Not broken, abandoned. Rust ate through the wheels. Entire cars were coated in graffiti. One door hung crooked, half torn off. No vibration, no sound, no conductor, no sign anyone had touched it in years. Rhea swallowed hard. "Joe, why is there a train here?" I don't know. "And why would your GPS route you through a blocked road?" "I don't know." My chest tightened. Something wasn't right. Not with the train. Not with the road. Not with the route. "Okay, we're turning around," I said. "Hold on." I shifted into reverse. That's when Rhea whispered, trembling, "Joe, someone's behind us." At first, I thought she meant another car. Then I looked into the rearview mirror and froze. Multiple dark silhouettes stood in the tall grass behind us, still, crouched, watching. My breath caught. "What?" "Go," Rhea hissed. "I'm trying." The figures suddenly moved. They rushed from the grass, sprinting toward us. At least 5 of them. Maybe more. Their shapes were human but wrong, fast, low to the ground, like they had practiced this 1,000 times. One slammed a hand against the back window. Another pulled on the passenger handle. A third tried the driver's side. "Jolene, drive," Rhea screamed. I floored it. The car jerked backward, tires skidding on gravel as I backed into the grass to get enough space to turn. One figure lunged for my door again, yanking it violently. "Why aren't the child locks working?" I cried. They're locked," Rhea yelled. I didn't think. I didn't care. I hit the gas, turning the wheel sharply. The car swung forward, bumping over something I prayed it wasn't a person, and sped back down that narrow road. "No way that was random," Rhea whispered, sobbing. "No way," I said, gripping the wheel so hard my hands shook. When we reached the highway again, I pushed the car to 20 over the limit. My whole body was shaking. My lungs felt tight. like I couldn't get enough air in. By the time we pulled back into the safety of that gas station, both of us were crying. I shut off the engine, leaned my forehead against the steering wheel, and tried to breathe. Rhea stared out the window, voice barely steady. "Joe, what if someone changed your GPS while we were inside?" My heart dropped. "What? You left your phone in the cup holder." "I remember because your screen lit up before we walked in. I hadn't locked the car. I always lock the car." But we were tired. We rushed. We weren't thinking. I opened Google Maps. My route had changed back to normal, back to the interstate, back to the path we should have taken all along. The blocked railroad wasn't marked as closed. It wasn't marked as anything. "Joe," Rhea whispered. "Someone planned that." I looked up at the highway stretching into the darkness. I knew she was right. Someone had wanted us down that road. Someone had been waiting. Someone who had done this before. And if we hadn't slammed the brakes fast enough, if we hadn't turned around in time, if those figures had gotten into the car, we wouldn't be alive to tell this story. I never thought the drive back home after graduation would be the part of college I remembered the most. Not the 4 years of exams, late-night pizza, roommates, heartbreaks, or the weird campus parties, but that night, that empty American highway, and the man I still dream about. My name is Brianna Thorne, and I had just finished my degree in sociology from a small university in northern Wisconsin. Graduating should have felt like a triumph, but if I'm honest, I was burned out emotionally, financially, mentally. College had taken a toll on me in ways I wasn't ready to admit out loud. I was driving back to my hometown in Indiana, about 10 hours away. It was supposed to be this happy, freeing road trip. My friends even tried to convince me to break it into 2 days and crash at a motel somewhere halfway. But I didn't have motel money. Hell, I barely had grocery money. My student loans were waiting like wolves, and my old, beat-up 2007 silver Honda Civic, the one with the weird rattling noise under the hood, was running on borrowed time. Still, I loaded up my clothes, my thrifted bookshelf, a worn-out suitcase, and leftover college junk, and started the drive home in that car. She had over 230,000 miles, mismatched tires, and new brakes. I bought secondhand from a guy named Stitch because the shop price was too high. Yeah, life was glamorous, but I told myself, it's fine, you'll make it home. It's just one day. And for most of the drive, I was right. Until the part of the trip I wish I could erase. It was around 9:40 p.m. when the real trouble began. I was only 2 hours from home, somewhere along a quiet stretch of Highway 41, forest on both sides. No billboards, no gas stations, no houses, no lights. Just that thick, endless darkness American backroads are known for. My phone had already dipped to 18%, and the signal was barely hanging on. I kept telling myself, come on, Bri, just push through. You're almost home. Mom's making dinner, remember? But right as I rounded a curve, my car gave this awful deep groan like the engine was choking and a warning light flashed. Then another. Then the whole car shook. Don't do this to me, seriously, I whispered, gripping the wheel. The Civic sputtered, coughed twice, and died. I coasted onto the gravel shoulder as the engine clicked itself into silence. For a second, I just sat there, both hands still on the wheel, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Shit. Naturally, I tried the ignition. Click, click, whine, then nothing but dead darkness. The dashboard went black, and so did the road around me. I grabbed my phone, holding it up like that would magically help. No service, not even one bar. Awesome, I muttered. Perfect. Love that for me. Outside, the woods were so quiet it didn't sound real. Not even crickets. Just wind brushing through the trees. This low, hollow, whooshing sound. I'd grown up in small-town America. I wasn't scared of nature. But something about that silence felt wrong. Like the woods were listening. I thought about staying in the car. But if nobody drove by, I could be there till morning. I thought about getting out and walking. But where would I go? I hadn't seen a gas station in over 30 miles. The isolation hit me all at once hard. Then I remembered something my dad told me once. If your car breaks down at night, stay inside. People out there ain't always good people. At the time, I rolled my eyes. But now, that advice wrapped around my spine like ice. I sat there for about 10 minutes trying to get even the tiniest hint of phone service. I held it near the windshield, near the ceiling. I even joked out loud. Should I climb onto the roof? Would that help? Anybody? No. Cool. But then, a loud, sharp knock hit the back window. I screamed, like, full-on, instinctive scream. I spun around so fast my neck cracked. There was a man standing right at the rear passenger window. Balding, beard, jacket too thin for the weather, clothes dirty like he'd been sleeping outside. And behind him, nothing but trees. Thick, dark trees. He hadn't come from the road. He had come from the woods. I froze as he stared at me, unmoving, his breath fogging the glass. Then he lifted his hand and knocked again. Slow, deliberate. 3 taps. Hey, I said weakly, raising my hand in a half-wave. No reaction. He just watched me. Watched. Then he tried the door handle. The locked door rattled violently. My whole body tightened. Oh, hell no, I whispered. The man slowly walked along the side of my car, dragging his hand across the metal, fingernails scraping, making this long, horrible sound. Scree. He stopped at the front of the car, staring at the hood for a moment, like he was inspecting it. Then he moved to my driver's side. He grabbed the handle, pulled again, harder. Then he leaned down so his face was inches from my window. His eyes looked wrong. Too wide, too alert, like he didn't blink enough. He whispered through the glass, "You should open the door." And that voice, raspy, broken, made my stomach twist. I shook my head instantly. Sorry, no, I can't, I'm waiting for help. He cut me off by knocking again, harder this time. Knock, knock, knock. Open it. No. He stared at me for a long, terrifying moment. Then, he smiled, but not a normal smile. Too long, too slow, like he wasn't used to the shape of it. Then he said something that made every hair on my arm stand straight up. Found another one. Another. What? Before I could respond, he stepped back and looked toward the woods, like he was signaling, like he expected someone to come out. And that's when pure survival kicked in. I didn't think, didn't weigh options, didn't hope for a miracle. I just acted. I turned the key in the ignition because it was the only thing I could do. Click. Whine. Click. Whir. The engine sputtered back to life like it was waking up from a nightmare. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I breathed. The man's head snapped toward me. I slammed my foot on the gas. The car lurched forward, gravel spitting behind me as the Civic shot onto the highway like it had been waiting for this moment. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The man was running toward the road. Fast. Faster than I expected. And someone else, another figure, stepped out from the tree line beside him. My blood ran cold. There really was another one. But my car kept going. 40 miles per hour. 60. 70. I didn't stop. Didn't breathe. Didn't even blink. I didn't pull over until I reached a gas station with perfect lights, people, and cell service. I sat there shaking and crying so hard I couldn't speak for 5 minutes. When I finally called my mom, she thought I'd gotten into an accident. I wish it had been that simple. The next day, after I made it home, my dad looked over the car. The fuel pump was dying. The alternator was shot. The battery should have been dead hours before the engine started. He couldn't explain how it turned on. You're lucky, he kept saying. Real damn lucky. But that's not the part that keeps me up at night. The part that haunts me is this. 2 weeks later, a news report came out about a missing girl. Same highway, same area, same kind of situation. Her abandoned car was found deep in the woods. The police suspected foul play. The suspects? Unknown. Every time I think of that, my stomach knots. Because when that man whispered, "Found another one," I realized something. I wasn't the first, and I might not have been the last. I never thought a simple weekend girls' trip would change the way I look at empty highways forever. I was 21 at the time, still juggling college classes at Willow Creek Community College while working part-time at a thrift store in a tiny town in northern Alabama. Life wasn't glamorous by any means, but that particular spring, I had saved just enough money to take a much-needed break from everything: assignments, shifts, the constant buzzing inside my head telling me I wasn't doing enough. My best friend, Lana Bristow, was the only person who knew exactly how badly I needed that break. We'd known each other since freshman year. She was from Tennessee, loud, funny, sarcastic, the kind of girl who could turn a funeral awkward. But she was also the kind of girl who would show up at your door at 2 a.m. with chicken nuggets because you cried over a bad grade. That weekend, she'd practically dragged me into her Subaru, tossing her backpack in the back seat and saying, "All right, Harper, we're going. No excuses. You need sunlight, caffeine, and scenery that isn't the thrift store parking lot with that creepy old man who always asks for a senior discount when he's like 45. I laughed then. I wish I still could. We planned to drive from Alabama through Chattanooga and up to a set of waterfalls Lana had heard about near the Tennessee-North Carolina border. A simple 2-day loop. Nothing crazy. Just a girls' trip. But nothing about that trip stayed simple. We left early, like before the birds, kind of early. I remember staring out the window as the first sunlight peeled itself across the hills. Lana turned down the music, side-eyeing me. "You good?" "Yeah," I said, tugging at the sleeve of my hoodie. "Just tired." "You're always tired. You're always annoying." She snorted. "Fair." We stopped for gas outside Scottsboro, grabbed horrible gas station muffins, and hit the road again. The first 4 hours were perfect, laughing, talking, gossiping about people from school. Everything felt normal, until the GPS glitched. We were somewhere past Murphy, North Carolina. The kind of winding mountain roads where the trees grow thick and the radio cuts out. Lana tapped the screen. Why is the route changing on its own?" "It's just the mountains," I said. "Signal's garbage around here." The route rerouted again, and again. Then it froze completely. No road, no reroute, just a blank map with a blue dot drifting like we were floating on an ocean. "Okay," Lana muttered. "That's new." We reached a fork, left or right, but the GPS stayed blank. "Right?" I guessed. "Girl, the way you said that does not fill me with confidence." I checked the sky. Clouds were pulling in fast. "It's fine," I said, pointing. "Let's just try right." I wish I hadn't said that. The rain came fast like a sheet. 1 minute it was drizzling. The next the world turned blurry. The road narrowed. Trees leaned in like they were trying to listen. That's when I saw him. A man standing on the shoulder, waving his arm not like he needed help, but like he was warning cars to slow down. His jacket looked like one of those reflective safety vests construction workers wear, but it was filthy. Mud smeared across the front like he'd fallen repeatedly. "Someone probably broke down," Lana said, slowing the car. "Maybe," I said, but my stomach tightened. When we got closer, I noticed he wasn't standing next to a car. There was no vehicle. Nothing. Just him, the rain, and the woods. He waved harder. Lana lowered the window just a bit. "Hey, you all right?" The man didn't answer. Instead, he pointed aggressively toward the road ahead, then made a slashing motion across his neck. "Dude," Lana whispered, "that's weird. I don't like this," I said quietly. He stepped closer, rain dripping off his clothes. His hands looked rough, scratched, like he'd been clawing through brush. His eyes looked exhausted but frantic. "Something's ahead," he shouted over the rain. "You girls don't want to go that way." "What's up ahead?" Lana asked. He took one step closer. Then he opened the back door and climbed in. Just like that. I didn't even have time to scream. "What the hell, dude?" Lana shouted, twisting around. He slammed the door shut, water pooling on the seat beneath him. His breathing was ragged, like he'd been running. His hair dripped into his eyes. "Drive," he said, "please." Lana's eyes met mine wide, scared. She whispered, "Harper, just drive." I whispered back. She put the car in gear. He smelled like dirty clothes that had been left out in the rain for days. The grime on his hands looked caked in. He clutched the back of Lana's seat so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "Thank you," he breathed. "Thank you for stopping." "Most don't." "What's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stared at Lana. "You're taking the wrong road." "We were gonna turn around," Lana lied quickly. "We kinda got lost." He laughed a dry, broken laugh. "Yeah, people do." His voice had that unsteady tone people get when they haven't slept. "What's ahead?" Lana asked. For a second, he went quiet. Too quiet. "You ever hear about places the cops don't bother patrolling?" he asked suddenly. "Places where things go missing and folks pretend they never saw anything in the first place." Lana cut me a look. "Buddy, we just want to get back to the main road." He looked at me then, not at Lana. "Me. You from around here?" he asked. "No," I said quickly. He nodded, like that was good for some reason. "You don't look like you're from here." He smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Lana jumped in instantly, her voice upbeat and fake. "Neither of us are from here. We're just doing a girls' weekend, hiking and stuff." He leaned back, exhaling shakily. "I was stationed in Kentucky once," he muttered out of nowhere. "Back when I still had a job, before they let me go." "You were in the military?" Lana asked. He shrugged. "Something like that. Now they put me up at the VA clinic, but I don't stay long. Too many rules. Too many nurses going through my things." He laughed again, a little too loud. "They found my stuff. They didn't like that." I stared out the window, pretending to look at the trees. My heart hammered so hard I thought the man might hear it. "Hey," he said suddenly. "You listening?" I kept my eyes on the glass. "Yeah, you're real quiet," he said. Quiet ones always see too much. Before I could respond, Lana cut him off quickly. "So how far up is this area we shouldn't go to?" she asked loudly, forcing the conversation back. He blinked, confused for a second, then scratched his arm. "A mile, maybe less. You'll see the pull-off. Don't stop there. Not unless you want to meet the folks who live in those woods." My whole body chilled. "There's a camp out here?" Lana asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned forward again, whispering, "You girls are lucky you picked me up." Then he stared directly at me again. Real lucky. I pressed myself into the door, my hand finding the lock. The rain thickened so loud it drowned out everything else. Lana's voice trembled. There's an overpass up ahead. Maybe we should drop you there so you stay dry." He didn't move. "You trying to get rid of me?" he asked softly. "No, dude," Lana said with a nervous laugh. "I'm just trying to help. You think I don't know when someone's trying to get rid of me?" His tone sharpened, and he leaned between our seats. I flinched. "Hey," I said softly, forcing calm. "She didn't mean it like that. It's just safer under the bridge. No rain. No cars splashing water." He turned to me again, studying my face. "You're scared," he whispered. My throat tightened. Lana slowed the car as we reached the overpass. She pulled onto the shoulder. The man finally exhaled, long and heavy. "All right," he muttered. "This is fine. This is fine." He opened the door halfway, paused, then turned back to us. "You two need to leave this road," he said. "Don't look back. Don't stop for nothing. And if you see anyone up ahead waving you down, don't slow the hell down for them. Got it?" I swallowed hard. "Got it." He stepped out, but he didn't walk away. He just stood there, under the overpass, staring at us, hands at his sides, rain pouring behind him like a curtain. "Go," I whispered. "Yeah," Lana breathed. She hit the gas. We drove for maybe 30 seconds before Lana let out a shaking breath. "Harper," she whispered. "I'm freaking out." "Me too." She gripped the wheel tighter. "What if he follows us? What if he's on foot?" I said. And honestly, he looked more lost than dangerous. "Yeah, but Jesus, he just climbed in. Who does that?" I shook my head. I didn't know. The woods around us thickened again. The GPS was still blank. The sky still bruised and heavy with rain. Then we saw it. A small pull-off on the right. Dirt. No signs. No other cars. Lana slowed. Is that what he meant? Probably. The pull-off had a narrow path leading into the trees. Dark. Wet. Muddy. Something about it felt wrong. Like the air itself was heavier there. Keep driving, I said quickly. Yeah, okay. Lana pressed the gas. As we passed the trailhead, I glanced out the window just for a second. There was movement between the trees. Not an animal. A person. Standing perfectly still, halfway behind a tree. Wearing dark clothing soaked from the rain. Just watching our car pass. I jerked in my seat. Lana, I saw it too, she whispered. The next mile was pure silence. Neither of us breathed normally. Then the GPS flickered. Oh, thank God, Lana muttered. A map appeared. We were off route, but at least the system was working again. It rerouted us back toward the main highway. Just as Lana turned onto the connecting road, she said, "We were lucky, huh?" "Yeah," I whispered. The rain softened. The trees thinned. And then, my phone buzzed. No service, but a notification appeared. Unknown number. "Why didn't you stop?" My stomach dropped open. Lana saw my face. "What?" I turned the screen toward her. Her hands trembled on the wheel. How would someone out here? The phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "You should have stopped at the pull-off." Then a picture came through. A blurry shot taken from inside the woods. Our car, passing by, taken from maybe 20 feet away. Lana slammed her foot on the gas. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. "Don't stop," I shouted. "I'm not." She sped through the curve so fast I thought we'd skid off the road. The messages stopped once we hit the main highway again. The service returned. The rain eased. For the next hour, neither of us spoke. It wasn't until 2 days later, back home, that I worked up the courage to Google the area. I wish I hadn't. There were forums, old ones, about missing hikers along that same road. People talked about an unmarked trail that led to some off-grid community. A place law enforcement didn't bother visiting anymore. A place people didn't come back from. Some said they'd seen people waving down cars, pretending to warn them, then leading them into the woods. Others mentioned a man with a safety vest who'd escaped once. Babbling about them, the posts stopped around 2019, but one message stood out. If you see someone waving you down on that road, do not stop. That's how they choose you. I closed my laptop and cried. Not dramatic, crying quiet, shaking crying, because I kept thinking about that blurry picture. Someone had been standing in those woods, watching, waiting. And if Lana hadn't kept driving, if that man under the overpass hadn't warned us, if she had turned into that pull-off, I don't think we'd be here. Sometimes at night, when I can't sleep, I think about the man we picked up. His dirty clothes, his frantic eyes, his trembling hands. He wasn't the threat. He was the warning. And I don't know what scares me more, the things he saw out there, or the fact that someone had my number. I changed phones, changed numbers, but sometimes, when I drive alone on empty roads, I still think I see shapes in the trees. Still think I see someone waving me down. I speed up every time, because I know better now. Some roads look empty. They aren't. I always thought road trips were supposed to feel freeing, windows down, hair whipping everywhere, bad pop songs blaring while you laugh with your best friend about nothing and everything. But that was before the summer of 22, before the road to Sierra Morada, before I realized that sometimes the scariest part of a trip isn't where you're going. It's who notices you along the way. My name is Alyssa, and at the time, I was 23. I'd just finished my first year as a pediatric nurse, and my best friend Riley, the loud, chaotic, brutally honest girl I'd grown up with, was the kind of person who believed that every problem could be cured with a weekend getaway. "Girl," she'd said one night, leaning across my kitchen counter with a bottle of Dr. Pepper, "you are one more double shift away from losing your damn mind. We're going. No excuses." I'd protested. My mom would freak out. I had laundry to do, and I hated long drives. But the truth? I needed an escape. I needed to breathe. So when she offered a 3-day girl trip to a tiny mountain town in Arizona called Sierra Morada, I said yes. That, yes, still haunts me. I woke up early the morning we left. The sky still dim blue. My apartment smelled like citrus cleaner and old coffee, classic me. Riley barged in without knocking, also classic her, holding a bag of breakfast burritos. Rise and shine, baby nurse, she grinned. I got the good ones from Tito's. I laughed. So we're starting the trip with heartburn? It builds character. We packed my silver Honda CR-V, my reliable old girl who rattled when she hit 75 miles per hour but never once failed me. The air was crisp, the sun just beginning to peek over the apartments. It felt normal, peaceful even. Playlist? Riley asked. You're not touching it. Girl, your music is depressing as hell. She groaned. We are listening to road trip bangers. No sad nurse vibes today. Fine, I muttered. But nothing from your weird outlaw country phase. Damn, okay. One time I play Willie Nelson, and you never let it go. We laughed, and the car rolled onto the highway. We didn't know then that someone would soon be following us. About 2 hours into the drive, we crossed into the desert stretch of New Mexico, nothing but flat land, pale sand, long, quiet roads, and a sun that felt like it was leaning too close. I swear this place looks like a Fallout map, Riley said. Please don't manifest us being attacked by mutants. No promises. An old blue pickup truck had been behind us for a few miles, nothing weird about that. Except, he always switched lanes when we did. Always hung the same distance. Always just close enough. Riley, I said quietly. That truck's been behind us since exit 143. She looked in the mirror. Maybe he's going the same direction. Maybe. I murmured. But something felt off. The truck looked beat up, faded doors, mismatched paint, no plates on the front, and through his windshield, all I could make out was a dark baseball cap. Not his face, not his eyes, just the silhouette. He's probably nothing, Riley said, faking a confidence that didn't reach her voice. Just some dude with a crappy truck. I tried to shake it off. People follow similar routes all the time. I was being dramatic, right? 30 minutes later, the blue truck was still there. Still switching lanes when we did. Still matching our speed. We pulled into a small gas station near a place called Loma Ridge, the kind of dot on the map town that had one store, one pump, and one guy sitting outside selling peaches out of a styrofoam cooler. Riley muttered, "This place looks like a horror movie." "Please don't say that right now," I whispered. As we filled up, I tried not to look paranoid, but I scanned the road anyway. "Don't see him," Riley said. "You're good." I exhaled. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe long shifts had fried my brain. We went inside for snacks. The clerk, a tired-looking woman with red hair and a thick local accent, glanced at us. "Y'all traveling far?" "Arizona," I said with a smile. She hesitated. "Be careful on the 601. Folks drive like they're being chased by the devil out there." "Good to know," Riley said, trying to joke. "We'll keep an eye out for Satan." The woman didn't laugh. When we got back outside, the hair on the back of my neck lifted. The blue truck was parked on the far side of the lot. Same baseball cap. Still no face visible. "Alyssa," Riley whispered. "Get in." Now, my stomach dropped. We climbed into the car fast and pulled out quickly, gravel crunching under the tires. Within seconds, the blue truck pulled out too, and followed. "Okay, this is too weird," Riley said, voice tight. He wasn't even getting gas. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Maybe he just happened to stop there? No way. He waited. The road narrowed to a 2-lane highway winding through canyon-like terrain. Tall red cliffs rose around us, making everything feel claustrophobic. I checked the mirror. He was so close now I could see his bumper. "Why is he tailgating?" I whispered. Riley turned around in her seat. "Hey, back off," she yelled, flipping him off through the back window. "Riley." "What?" "Dude's being a psycho." The truck sped up, closing the distance further. Riley's face paled. "Okay, maybe don't piss him off. Let's stay calm." But the driver flashed his high beams at us. Once, twice, then continuously. The light filled the car. "Alyssa, speed up." "I can't. The road's curvy." A long, steep drop stretched beside us. No guardrail. "Jesus Christ," Riley whispered. "He's pushing you. He wants you to go faster." "I'm not killing us," I snapped. Then the truck swerved violently, as if trying to bump our car. "What the hell is his problem?" Riley cried. My heart hammered so hard I felt it in my throat. The cliffs around us made the sound of engines echo strangely. Everything felt too close, too loud. Then the truck suddenly backed off, just enough to stay on our tail, watching, waiting. About 15 minutes later, a sign appeared. Sierra Morada, scenic route, 27 miles. "I'm taking it," I said instantly. "Girl, are you sure?" "It's scenic, tourist heavy, more cars, more people." We turned off. The blue truck followed. Riley cursed under her breath. "Okay. Nope. He's not casual anymore. This dude's straight up following us." The scenic route was beautiful but isolated wide fields, occasional old barns, patches of pine trees. The sun hung low now, bleeding orange across the sky. I tried calling 911. No service. I tried calling my mom. No service. Riley shook her phone. Damn it, nothing. The truck closed in again, flashing his lights until my eyes ached. "Pull over," Riley whispered. "Let him pass." "No," I said. "What if he stops too?" "Shit, you're right." My voice cracked. "What does he want from us?" Before she could answer, the truck sped forward, swerving into the oncoming lane and pulling up beside us. Our windows were down slightly, and I could hear him yelling something. But the wind stole his words. "What is he screaming?" Riley cried. Then we saw it. His arm out the window, not waving, not gesturing, but pointing at us, repeatedly, aggressively, like he was demanding we pull over. "Nope, not happening," Riley yelled. I tried to keep my hands steady. He kept yelling, kept pointing, kept matching our speed. And then, he jerked his truck toward us, inch by inch, trying to force us off the road. "Go, go, go," Riley shrieked. I slammed the gas pedal. The truck revved loud, furious, but the incline slowed him for a second. That second saved us. I took a sharp turn onto an unmarked dirt road. The truck missed the turn. Dust exploded behind us as I barreled down the gravel road. The CRV bounced so hard our teeth knocked. "Alyssa," Riley breathed. "Where the hell are we going?" "I don't know, I don't care, we just need to lose him." I hit another bump and the car skidded. Riley looked behind us. He's turning around. The sun was almost gone. The desert dimmed into shadow. The dirt road led nowhere, just an abandoned ranch, broken fencing, tall dead grass. "We need to hide," Riley whispered. "No," I said. "We need to keep moving." A sound cut me off. A distant engine, growing louder. "Alyssa." Riley grabbed my arm. "He's coming back. He's finding us." Headlights appeared over the hill. The blue truck. My pulse went icy. "He's blocking the road back," Riley screamed. "He's blocking it." "Alyssa, he's blocking it." I floored the gas. The CRV shot forward. "He's gonna hit us," Riley cried. "Hold on." The truck swerved, trying to cut us off, but I jerked the wheel and dodged him by inches. His horn blared, echoing off the empty ranch buildings. We tore through the dirt path, rocks clattering against the undercarriage. "There," Riley pointed. "There's a service road. Go." We veered onto a narrow strip of cracked pavement. The truck followed. The service road led up a small hill, and after that hill, lights. Town lights. I burst into tears. "Riley, we're close, we're almost there. Just don't slow down," she said. "Not for anything." We flew down the last stretch. The town of Sierra Morada came into view. Gas stations, restaurants, a sheriff's truck parked near the edge. The blue truck suddenly slowed, then stopped. Just stopped, right on the hill. Watching us, Riley sobbed. Oh my God, is he coming?" But he stayed there, engine idling, headlights fixed on us like eyes. We didn't stop driving until we reached the sheriff's station. 2 officers came out quickly when they saw Riley crying and me shaking so badly I could barely talk. One was a tall Hispanic man with kind eyes. Hey, what happened? Are you girls hurt? We explained everything, the lights, the tailgating, the yelling, the attempts to run us off the road. The officers exchanged a look. The older one sighed. We've had reports. Not enough to tie to one suspect. But girls traveling alone have been getting targeted around these back routes. My stomach twisted. Did anyone get hurt? I whispered. He hesitated. Some didn't check in. Some cars were found abandoned. Riley's hand clamped onto mine. Why didn't anyone stop him? She cried. Why isn't he arrested? The younger officer said quietly. Because he never stays. He never lingers. By the time we get calls, he's gone. Like he knows the timing. A chill spidered up my spine. They drove us to our motel themselves and told us not to travel at night. They took down all our details. Promised they'd scan the area. But the blue truck was never found. Not that night. Not the next day. Not ever. The morning we left, I felt sick. The drive home was supposed to be easier, daylight, more traffic, no detours. But as we passed the stretch of road where he'd last appeared, I couldn't help looking at the hills. Just once. Just for a second. And that's when I saw it. A beat-up old blue truck parked far off the road behind a cluster of dried-out shrubs. Driver's door open. No plates. Baseball cap hanging on the mirror. Riley saw it too. Her voice cracked. He waited. He literally waited to see if we'd come back through. I pressed the gas pedal, heart hammering. We didn't stop. We didn't breathe. We didn't look again. And even now, 2 years later, whenever I'm back on a quiet highway, I still get the same cold chill creeping down my spine. Because I know, without a doubt, that he wasn't just messing with us. He was hunting, and we just barely slipped out from between his teeth. I never planned on taking that road. If anything, I always swore I'd avoid driving through little towns in the middle of nowhere, especially the ones that felt like they'd been abandoned sometime in the early 90 seconds and nobody bothered to update the maps. But that weekend, everything in my life felt like it was pushing me toward doing things I normally avoided. The trip wasn't supposed to be scary. It was meant to be a reset. Just me and Jenny. I'd known Jenny since we were 13. We were the kind of girls who made fun of cheesy horror movies and swore that if we ever ended up in one of those situations, we'd actually use common sense. Back then, we were convinced being smart kept you safe. A lot changes when you grow up. Real danger doesn't wait around to make sense. And sometimes luck is the only thing standing between you and becoming a statistic. The weekend getaway started because life had gotten too heavy. My dad had been in the hospital for almost 3 months, heart issues. Bad ones, and I'd been working double shifts at the diner to cover bills my job barely touched. Jenny had just gotten out of a year-long relationship with a guy she loved way more than he deserved. So when she barged into my apartment one evening with a Red Bull in one hand and my overnight bag in the other, saying, "Pack your crap, girl. We're going somewhere quiet before I lose my damn mind," I didn't argue. I didn't even ask where we were going. I just threw clothes into the bag while she talked a million miles a minute about a rental cabin she found near Silver Ridge, Colorado. A little tourist town. Mountains, lakes, quiet. I didn't realize how much I needed quiet until I heard myself breathe differently in the car. The first 2 days were perfect. We cooked at the cabin, binge-watched reality TV, went into town for groceries and iced coffee, took pictures by the lookout points, joked around like teenagers again. It felt good, human, like my life wasn't falling apart piece by piece. And Jenny, God, she was glowing again, laughing again. Her ex had drained the happiness out of her without her even noticing, and this trip was the first time I'd seen her be herself in over a year. The day we were leaving, the universe still felt normal. Not great, not fixed, just normal. If I'd known what was waiting for us back on the road, I probably wouldn't have even left the cabin. But we don't get warnings like that in real life. The only hint we ever get is a feeling in our stomach, the one we always ignore. We packed the car around 11 in the morning. Jenny insisted on driving the first half because I tended to get tired early. It was a long ride back to Kentucky, around 16, 17 hours, and we didn't want to stay another night in a hotel. Everything started out fine. We listened to music. We made fun of Jenny's Spotify recommendations when she threw on some depressing acoustic playlist. "Woman, this is a road trip, not a breakup montage." She rolled her eyes. "Shut up. I like sad dudes with guitars." We got gas 3 times, ate cheap gas station snacks, argued about whether Cheetos counted as a real meal, talked about everything and nothing. Hours passed. The sun went down, and once we crossed into Indiana, the highway became a web of exits and detours thanks to construction signs every 10 minutes. By the time Jenny got tired and I took over the wheel, it was already close to 3 a.m. We were supposed to stay on Route 64, but the GPS kept recalculating, then recalculating again, then again, and somehow we ended up on a narrow 2-lane road that barely fit 2 cars at once. Trees pressed against the road like they were trying to swallow it whole. Fog clung to the edges. No streetlights. No houses. Just blackness on both sides. Jenny had fallen asleep in the passenger seat, curled up with her hoodie over her face. At first, the silence felt peaceful. Then it started feeling wrong. The road was too empty, too quiet, and I was too tired to think straight. It started with headlights in my rearview mirror. Faint at first, then brighter, then brighter. The car was far behind me, maybe 2 football fields, but something about it made my stomach tense. Most cars pass. Most cars don't stay behind you at the exact same distance for 20 minutes. I tried to shake off the paranoia. I turned the radio down, took slow breaths, told myself, "It's 4 in the morning. Chill out. People drive early. It's fine." But the road got narrower, curvier. The trees blocked the horizon. Everything felt like it was closing in, and the car kept following. Not closer, not farther. Just there, watching. I flicked my eyes to Jenny, wishing she'd wake up, because I didn't want to deal with this feeling alone. But her face was buried under her hoodie, and she was dead asleep. Then, it got worse, because once we reached a part of the road that twisted like a snake, the headlights behind me suddenly sped up. Fast. Too fast. I felt my pulse jump. No. The car behind me swerved slightly, the engine loud even from a distance. And then, right as I rounded a curve, brights. They hit me so hard I flinched. The interior of our car lit up like someone had turned on a stadium floodlight. My eyes stung. Okay. Nope. That's not normal. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. The car behind me pressed closer. Closer. Now they were right on my bumper. So close I couldn't see their headlights, just white light flooding through the rear window. Jenny, wake up." I reached over and shook her shoulder, but she barely mumbled. I didn't have time to try again, because the next curve revealed something that made all the air leave my lungs. 4 fat, heavy tires sat in the middle of the road, not rolling, not part of a blown-out piece of rubber, placed, like a row, like someone had set them there. My brain didn't process it in time. I was going too fast. I tried to swerve, but there was no shoulder, just a ditch and thick trees. We hit the tires. Hard. The car jerked up. The sound of rubber scraping rubber echoed through the cabin. Something thumped under us, like metal hitting the bottom of the car. Jenny jolted awake with a scream. "What the?" I slammed the gas pedal down. The car behind us kept tailing, but now it slowed slightly, like it expected us to stop, like it wanted us to. Jenny was breathless. What happened? What did we hit? Tires. Someone put tires in the road. What? Why? Before I could answer, we rounded the next bend. And that's when I saw them. On the right side of the road, the rising sun lit the bushes from behind. Light spilled through the branches, making silhouettes easy to see. Silhouettes of people. 5, 6, maybe 7. All crouched. All watching. Not moving. Not startled. Waiting. Jenny gasped. Holy shit. I couldn't look long. I needed my eyes on the road, but what I saw made my blood go cold. Someone was holding a long metal object. Another had something like a thick wooden stick. One person had both hands low, like they were holding something heavy near the ground. These weren't bystanders. These weren't hunters. These weren't people waiting for a bus at dawn. This was an ambush, and they were pissed we hadn't stopped. My voice cracked as I said, "We're not dying here." Jenny whispered, "Drive, just go, go." So I did. I floored it. The tires screamed as the car hit 70 miles per hour, then 80, then 90, on a road barely wide enough for 2 cars. Branches whipped at the sides. The GPS kept losing signal. Jenny kept glancing back, her panic rising with every second. "They're following us." I risked a glance. The car behind us, an old dark-colored truck, was speeding up again. The headlights bounced violently, hitting potholes and dips like it didn't care what happened to its suspension. The truck roared closer. My hands were slick with sweat. My throat felt like it was closing. Jenny slapped the dashboard. "Faster, please." "I'm trying." The curves were deadly. I could barely control the car at the speed we were going, but slowing down wasn't an option. We reached a fork in the road. The GPS didn't load. 2 unmarked paths. Left or right. No time. The truck lurched forward, closing the distance. Jenny pointed frantically. "Left, left, left." I yanked the wheel. The car skidded, fishtailing so hard I thought we'd tip. The truck overshot the turn. For a moment, just one moment, it disappeared from view. I didn't breathe. Jenny didn't breathe. Then the road straightened. I kept driving until my arms shook from gripping the wheel so tightly. We didn't stop until we saw a flickering fluorescent sign that said, "Dewey's Fuel and Mart." A tiny gas station. Old. Mostly empty. But it was something. I pulled in fast, almost hitting the pump. Jenny jumped out first. Her voice was shaking. "Check the tires, check the fucking tires." I got out and crouched down. My stomach dropped. Each tire had at least 3 or 4 nails embedded in it. Not random nails, fresh roofing nails, still shiny. Someone had scattered them inside the tires we hit. If the tires weren't brand new, we would have blown out on those curves. I felt sick. Jenny hugged herself, pacing. What the hell did we drive into? Who does that? Who just ambushes people? I didn't know. And I didn't want to think about what would have happened if we'd stopped. Inside the store, an old man behind the counter looked at us like we were crazy when we told him what happened. He murmured, "You girls shouldn't be on those roads before sunrise." I swallowed. "Why?" He hesitated, then said, "Some folks out here don't like outsiders." That was all he gave us. We didn't ask for more. We paid for gas. I avoided telling Jenny anything that would make her panic worse. She avoided asking questions I wasn't ready to answer. We got back in the car. I didn't relax until we crossed into Kentucky and the sun was fully up. Jenny talked about it once. Weeks later, we were sitting in my kitchen eating leftover pizza when she said softly, "They weren't trying to rob us, right?" "No." "Then what did they want?" I didn't have an answer. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw the silhouettes in the bushes, crouched low to the ground like animals waiting for prey. I remembered the way the truck followed us, not reckless, not confused, with purpose. And I remembered that moment we hit the tires. That sound, that heavy thump. Someone was waiting just around the bend, expecting us to stop, expecting us to get out, expecting us to walk into whatever trap they had planned. If I had hesitated even a few seconds, I don't think we'd be here. Sometimes I lie awake thinking about that alternate version of the story. The one where we stopped the car. The one where we never made it to the gas station. The one where our names would have become a 2-paragraph local news article saying 2 girls went missing before dawn in rural Indiana. People always say, it could have been worse. But most people don't know how close worse can get before you realize it's breathing down your neck. I never told anyone else. Not my parents. Not my coworkers. Not any emergency hotline. I didn't want to relive it. And honestly, I didn't want to hear someone say, "You're exaggerating." Or, "You misinterpreted what you saw." Some things don't need belief to be true. Some horrors don't need supernatural explanations. Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who live in the dark on roads nobody monitors, waiting for cars that look vulnerable. And we were vulnerable. 2 tired girls. No weapons. No cell service. No backup. Just luck. And luck doesn't last forever. I still think about how close we came to not making it home. And whenever Jenny and I plan road trips now, we always say the same thing. No back roads. Not ever again. Because we've seen what waits there, and we're never going back. I never thought a simple road trip to clear my head would become the one night I still wake up thinking about 3 years later. My name is Lydia Rowan, and back then I was 26, burned out, irritated with life, and honestly, tired of pretending I was fine. I had just gotten out of a suffocating 3-year relationship with a guy named Brent, controlling, insecure, and somehow charming enough that I convinced myself the red flags were just stress. Classic me. One night he went off on me for not answering my phone at work. I was waitressing at a diner off Highway 12. My phone was literally in the back office charging. He showed up at the restaurant and caused a scene. I broke up with him the next morning. The first few weeks afterward were peaceful, until the silence in my apartment got too loud. I needed space. Mental space, physical space, emotional space. So, when my cousin Jenna invited me to stay a week with her at her grad school campus in Ridgewater, Tennessee, I jumped at it. I planned a 2-day drive from Kansas City. Day 1, long haul. Cheap motel overnight. Day 2, arrive refreshed. Easy plan. But trips that start easy rarely stay that way. I left KC at noon with my beat-up blue Honda Civic, a backpack of clothes, a bag of snacks, and the stubborn confidence that road trips fix everything. The first few hours were perfect warm air, long roads, music loud enough to drown overthinking. Around 11:30 p.m., somewhere in rural Arkansas, exhaustion hit me like a wall. My eyes were sandpaper, my legs achy, and that weird dizzy feeling you get when you've been driving too long. Yeah, full force. I checked Google Maps, but I had 0 service. Great. Okay, Lydia, I whispered. Just find any exit with a place to sleep. The next exit had a faded food sign. McDonald's. 1 mile. Gas station. 1 mile. Blue Willow Motel. 1.8 miles. I didn't love it, but I didn't have another option. The road leading to the motel was pitch black, surrounded by nothing but woods swallowing the sky. I felt that little instinctive pinch of fear at the back of my neck, the one every girl recognizes but learns to ignore because I'm probably just being dramatic. The motel appeared suddenly through the trees like someone had dropped it there in the middle of nowhere. Blue Willow Motel. The sign flickered like it was tired of being alive. The parking lot was empty except for one beat-up silver pickup. Not ideal. Not awful. Just unsettling. I parked and sat there for a moment. My gut was whispering, "Don't stay here." But my body answered, "Girl, we are done driving." So I grabbed my bag and headed toward the office. The lobby smelled like old coffee and lemon cleaner. A man in his late 50s sat behind the reception desk, wearing wire-rimmed glasses and a Carhartt jacket. "Evenin'," he said, voice scratchy like he lived on cigarettes. "You travelin' alone?" My stomach tightened. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just passing through." He slid the guest book toward me. "Name and signature." "Room available?" "Plenty of 'em," he chuckled. "Ain't too many folks stop out this way unless they're lost or tired as hell." Something about the way he said that made my arms break out in chills. But I wrote my name. He handed me a key card. "Room 12. Right round the corner. Door faces the lot. If you need anything, I'm here till 3. I thanked him and walked to my room. Room 12 looked exactly how you'd expect from a rural Arkansas motel. Beige curtains, faded blue comforter, yellowish walls, slight smell of old AC units and dust. But it wasn't gross. It wasn't scary. Just old. I locked the door, double-checked it, then triple-checked it. I showered quickly, changed, and turned off the lights. I was asleep within minutes. Knock, knock. My eyes flew open so fast my neck cracked. I checked my phone. 12:47 a.m. I froze, listening. Knock, knock. Someone was definitely at the door. My heart pounded so hard it shook my ribs. I whispered to myself, "Don't answer, don't move." But I had to look. I silently slid off the bed and crept to the window beside the door. The curtains were cheap, thin ones, the kind motels buy in bulk, and they swayed slightly from the AC. I lifted one corner just enough to glance outside. A man stood there. Not the receptionist. This guy was younger, mid-30s maybe. Long, greasy hair, gray jacket, dark jeans, hands stuffed into his pockets. He wasn't knocking anymore. He was just standing there, facing my door, facing me, though he didn't know I was there. My throat went dry. He wasn't a guest. He wasn't dressed like one. He looked like he lived outside. I dropped the curtain instantly. The man knocked again, louder this time. "Hello?" His voice was rough. "You awake in there?" "Hell no." I backed away slowly, trying not to make a sound. After maybe 40 seconds, I heard footsteps. Then nothing. Stillness. I didn't breathe for at least a minute. I waited and waited. Finally, I peeked through the curtain again. He was gone. I barely slept the next 30 minutes. My mind was running like a hamster wheel. Maybe he was at the wrong room. Maybe he needed help. Maybe it was nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. Not even close. At 1:28 a.m., there was another knock. I stopped breathing. Same rhythm, except sharper, more impatient. "No way," I whispered. I peeked outside. This time it was someone else. A different guy. Younger. Tall. Hood pulled over his face. All black clothes. Hands resting on the door handle like he already tried turning it. This one didn't knock long. He twisted the knob. The metal rattled so hard I jumped back. He whispered something I couldn't hear, then tried the knob again. Locked. Thank God. He finally stepped away and walked down the row of rooms, stopping at 14, then 15, then 16, testing, trying, looking for an unlocked door. My stomach felt like it dropped straight through the floor. This wasn't random. This wasn't someone looking for help. This wasn't a drunk dude mistaking rooms. This was something else. I turned my TV on low to calm my nerves, but I didn't relax. Not even a little. Another 30 minutes passed. A long, heavy thud shook my door. I leapt to my feet. Then another. Then a knock, fast and angry. I looked through the curtain. It was the first guy again. Closer this time. Standing directly in front of the door. Breathing hard. Jaw clenched. "Hey," he muttered, voice deeper. "You awake?" "I know you are. Come on." My blood ran cold. Why would he say that? The lights were off. Curtains closed. TV sound low enough to barely register outside. How could he know? He stayed there for a full minute, just breathing, staring. Then he walked away slowly, almost casually, like he had all night. I didn't sleep after that. Not 1 second. Around 3:10 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to know if they were still around. I peeked out again. Not at my door. Across the parking lot. The silver pickup truck I noticed earlier. There was movement inside it. 2 silhouettes. Talking. Watching. One of them lifted his arm and pointed toward the row of rooms. My row. They weren't random strangers. They were together. Jesus. I backed away from the window so fast my heel hit the bed frame. My breathing turned shaky. Okay. Don't panic," I whispered. "What do I do? Leave? Stay? Call someone?" No service. I grabbed my phone, waved it around the air like an idiot. But nothing changed. 0 bars. The motel Wi-Fi? I tried. It didn't work either. I was shut off from the entire world. I paced the room, chewing on my thumbnail, thinking. My mouth tasted like copper from fear. Then I made a decision that probably saved my life. I packed everything, shoes, charger, bag slowly and silently. I didn't turn on any lights. The plan was simple. Wait until the men looked away. Unlock the door quietly. Slip to my car. Pray the engine didn't roar too loud. Drive like hell. Around 3:40 a.m., the 2 silhouettes in the pickup turned slightly, facing the woods. I seized the moment. I opened the door as slowly as possible. It still made a tiny metallic click. I froze. Nothing moved. I stepped outside. The air was cold and damp. My breath fogged immediately. Every part of me shook. My car was 30 feet away. Just 30 feet. I walked slowly at first, then faster, then, "Hey." A voice exploded behind me. I didn't look back. I sprinted to my car. I heard footsteps, fast ones closing in. Keys, keys, keys. I fumbled with them, hands trembling so violently I dropped them on the pavement. "Stop," one of the men shouted. I snatched the keys, slammed them into the door lock, yanked it open, threw myself inside, and hit the lock button so hard my thumb bruised. Someone grabbed the door handle from outside. The car shook. I screamed. The man banged on the window. "Open the fucking door." I shoved the key into the ignition. My hands were slick with sweat. The engine hesitated. Then, vroom. I slammed the gear into reverse, backed out so fast I almost hit a pole, then floored it toward the exit. One of the men ran after me for several seconds before giving up. I didn't stop. I didn't look back again. My heart was somewhere up in my throat. I drove until sunrise. Straight into Tennessee. Straight to Jenna's campus. Straight into her arms as I broke down crying in the parking lot. Jenna called campus security. Campus security called the county sheriff. They contacted the sheriff from the Arkansas county I stayed in. 2 days later, he called me. He said, "Ma'am, we're very familiar with that motel." My blood chilled. "What do you mean?" "It's a known spot for local trouble. Drugs, trafficking attempts, robberies. Last year we arrested 2 men who were breaking into rooms late at night. People passing through are easy targets. You're lucky you left when you did." I asked him if he had checked room 12 or the area around it. He paused. Then he said something that still gives me goosebumps. "We found pry marks on a few of the room doors. Looked fresh. And a couple of cigar butts by the tree line with footprints leading back to where a truck had been parked." I thought about the pickup, the silhouettes, the pointing, the whispering. They weren't knocking at random. They were searching. They were waiting. And I, alone, exhausted, unaware, had checked into the place they used like a hunting ground. I still can't sleep in ground floor motel rooms. I still triple check every lock. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear that first soft knock, the one that woke me, the one that almost changed everything.